Okay. There are a few things of like news that I didn't get to cover. Okay. Besides me, Pepe La. There's a new policy for rioters who want to stream. They are no longer allowed to monetize their streams when they're streaming Riot games, but are still allowed to monetize when they are streaming other types of content, though. So again, there's a new policy for, by the way, okay. When I talk about this stuff, I have to be very careful. So I'm not going to talk about the aforementioned company in here. I'm going to say this. If you work for a company that has you name yourself and identify yourself with the company, that is a red flag. Like Googlers. If you work for Google and you call yourself a Googler, that is a red flag. That should be a very big sign of concern for anyone. That's number one. Number two. And again, without speaking too much on that, I don't want to talk like I have to talk in broad terms, not specific to maybe a company involved in this tweet. But speaking in broad terms, a few things. First of all, I will actually note one thing specific. I was getting tagged in this shit a bunch. This is unrelated to me. Listen, I know video game companies act slow, but I've been out of Riot for 3 years. So 3 years? Yeah, 3 years, right? Yeah, I've been out of Riot for like 3 years, I think. Is Riot Blausteuss a red flag? Oh, where's the picture? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Listen, let me show you guys something. Look at me now. This is you as a free spirit who may or may not work for a company. Look, this is you as a free spirit. You may or may not work for a company. But if you do work for that company, you have a healthy relationship where you realize that you're just a cog in the machine. And at the end of the day, you're just trying to make money off them. You're going to work for them for what, 2 to 3 years, and then you're going to go on to another company. Because chat, remember, up or out. You either are going up in the company or you are out. 2 to 3 years with the company, then leave. Thank you so much. And this is you. You look happy. Now, I don't know why Leslie's face is in this as well, but this is you in the depths of a corporation. This is you in the depths of a corporation. Mismanagement of hair, poor usage of your hairline, 1,000-yard stare, etc. So just remember, healthy relationship with corporations. Speaking of healthy relationships with corporations, and I just happen to have my Twitter up at the same time, but speaking of healthy relationships with a corporation, I am sure people can come up with reasons for why a policy would exist for, say, a video game company to not want their employees to stream their own games. For instance, what if the employee were to stream their own games, build connections in the streaming world, and then realize that they valued making content more than they valued working for aforementioned company, and realize that they got more life satisfaction out of owning their own work as opposed to working for someone else. And so they then use that to build their own content and brand and then leave the company. That could happen. That could happen. I could imagine that happening. But what's funny is I could only imagine that happening maybe in one case. And in the vast majority of the other cases, if so let's say I'm going to run a video game company, chap. I start a video game company and I call that company protest games. Okay. We're called Protest Games. And we call ourselves protesters, by the way. We'll think about why that's a bad name later on, and we'll consider that later. But let's say I run Protest Games, and I'm like, I don't want my employees streaming my game, and I think that it's going to make sure that my employees don't leave me to pursue a career of content creation, or maybe it's also so that they don't, I guess, maybe accidentally leak something. Now, what are the benefits? What are the benefits of having? So it's like, okay, cool. Well, now it's like, this is great. That's a smart decision from a company. We agree, right? Because there's not that many benefits that we have of of someone streaming our games, right? At Protest Games, right? We don't think it's good to have someone, for instance, if one of our employees streamed our game, it's not like that they're going to build up a very genuine community and a close relationship with the game as a director of the game, right? We don't think that that's going to happen, right? We don't think that, we don't think that that person maybe streams the game as a chance to give genuine input on some of the things that they're designing for the game. It's not like that's going to happen. But let's say those things did happen. Let's say I'm the leader of Protest Games and I decide to enforce a policy where you can no longer monetize the streams when they're streaming Riot games. Let's assume that Protest Games is really fucking dumb when it comes to how streaming works. Crazy assumption. And let's say that they don't realize that you can't not monetize a stream because Twitch monetizes the streams, not the people running the stream. Because at the end of the day, it's Twitch that puts a sub button there, and it's Twitch that also runs the ad revenue. But even then, we at Protest Games might think that we can somehow manage and control it. What happens when the employees who are streaming for Protest Games are like, well, okay, we're still allowed to monetize when they're streaming other types of content. So what happens if within a single stream, I stream one of Protest Games' smash hits, Legend of Heroes, and then I go on to play, I don't know, fucking Minecraft later? How do you determine which part of my stream gets monetized? Do you have a way for Twitch to break up the monetization between those two things? And lastly, in all of this, because there's people coming up with reasons for why or why not Protest Games might think to do something like this, my last bit of advice: never, ever, ever side with the company. As someone who role plays as a evil, corrupt company in Grand Theft Auto, never take that. Like, trust me, when you see anything like the hypothetical I'm suggesting from Protest Games, know it's because they are trying to control their own narrative and their own employees. Corporations are not your friends. Never take the side of the corporation, ever. Thank you so much. And again, I want to be very clear for anyone watching my stream. That was a hypothetical. There was news, relevant gaming news on Twitter that I was just addressing. And so I created a hypothetical company called Protest Games to illustrate that point. Because like I said, potentially said hypothetical company might also, enforce various things on current and former employees to make them, I don't want to use the word scared about talking about them, but potentially, anyways, hypothetically. So again, chat, in all honesty though, with that news, like jokes aside, with all that news, don't ever take the side of the fucking company. Realize and don't ever take the side of these video game studios when they have overhired people and then laid off insane amount of their employees because of mismanagement of their own resources. Don't ever take their side in these things. Thank you so much. Anyways, a little rant there. A little Blau's bullshit.